Well, Joseph, another week, another episode of Halo.
Yeah. Hey, I got to give it to him. This is, in my opinion, which isn't saying much, the best episode so far. Partly because it's the shortest one so far. So that just instantly makes it better because then there's less we have to view.
Yeah, the shortest, the least amount of acting going on.
Yep.
Action, which I'm going to be critical of because I still think it's pretty low tier, but it's better than
anything we've gotten so far.
Yes. The rest of the episode
isn't saying much.
The rest of the episode lives up to the standard, though. We're over halfway through the season now. There's only 4 episodes left. There's only 4 more. And I guarantee you we're going to get 3 more episodes of people standing around talking.
But then the last one's going to be another action one, right?
Yeah. We'll get
Except
a 30
for to
minute...
really make us suffer, it's going to be an hour and a half long.
Oh, I hope not. I really hope not. Also, thank you to everyone except for the one guy, you know who you are, who let me know that over and over again that was it Miranda and Halsey, or Halsey is Miranda's mother.
And they finally did this episode that clarified
and made it a bit more clear.
Yeah.
Because
I think there was only one line I want to say in that episode that in episode 1 or 2 that referred to Halsey and being her mother.
Yes. And they're okay, so and here's the thing though, right? If you were watching this and you were in a position where you had no idea because it's not clear. I don't care what anybody else is saying, like it's not that clear that they're related. That I
think there was a line that Miranda Keyes said that that she laid it out essentially that they were, but it was again it
was in episode 1.
And what did she say? Tell me exactly.
I do not remember.
Okay.
Because it was one of the things like I'm not going to go back and look it up. I don't care. Like I now know because of the comments, right?
Yeah.
But this is the thing: is like if you were watching this, you might know that.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, it's not as clear as everyone is saying that it, or like, well, that
it wasn't clear
like
when we
one
watched
person.
it.
Yeah. You should pay more attention. It's like, shut up.
It's a boring show, so it's hard to, even though we're sitting there looking at it, it's just hard to retain everything. And I thought there was something that she had stated that alluded to her
she did,
being her mother.
I'm telling you, in the first episode, but that was the thing, is that it wasn't clear. It was like, okay, is she talking about her? And then she's...
I was getting confused where if it was Halsey. I was thinking it was Halsey or the Admiral.
Oh, the Indian lady?
Yeah.
She started to take kind of a backseat in the show.
She's the only thing she does is the only role her character is like her personality, like the character's personality is only angry.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It. That's the nuance they gave her. She's angry.
That's like
every time you see the Admiral, it's just
that's like
mad. Oh, no.
That's like most of the characters in the show. They have one personality trait.
Yeah,
including freaking Chief. Jeez.
Oh no.
Well, I don't know. So we get this opening scene, right?
Yep.
And here's Halsey. And,
with the captain.
Yeah, Captain Keyes. He shows up. Oh, so here's the thing, right? The way this plays out, when they switch over to him, they make it seem like this is some sort of reveal.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about. This is confusing.
Yep.
Because they do like this. There's like a little undertone in the music that makes you think like
it's going to be
like what's going on here? And it's like, okay, so are we supposed to know that they're together or not? Right.
Right.
Look at this fedora. Look at this guy's wearing. He's like styling.
I was laughing at it.
I
was like, they would give him a fedora to wear.
Yeah.
I'm just not into fedoras, just so people know. I mean, it looks good on him.
He's like a good right here, man. He's actually
he's a good looking guy.
He grew on me.
I like that beard too.
He grew on me about 0.5% in this episode.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they finally gave him something to do.
Right? Other than too many characters in the show.
Which would be the only maybe one of the only things I could actually commend the show or this episode for is it's like, oh, finally you gave some of these people something to do besides standing around talking to each other. There were 5 episodes in. So yeah, they're on Master Chief's home planet that we had seen before.
And I'm confused. Is this supposed to be a school or boot camp to raise them, to groom them, since, art imitates life for CBS?
No. Okay, so this is because they make it pretty clear. This is Halsey realizing where she's going to get her victims from.
Gotcha.
Because she's
planning strategically.
Yep.
The only way to save the human race is to kidnap children and groom them.
Yes. And so she sees John and some other kids playing on this like high up ropes course thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the let's see, where is it? One of the kids
was like picking on him, like shaking it, and
someone else falls. The kid in front of John falls, and so the lady's like, oh no, I was trying to get a shot of the kid falling, but I think this is the kid upside down. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, so John, this like 12-year-old who doesn't have superpowers, right?
Nothing.
With one arm, pulls this kid who looks bigger than him up again, right? And I'm not. Okay.
I'm like, is he supposed to be? So this is what I was thinking. Is this supposed to be after he touched the artifact? I think it's before.
Either way, I don't think it matters because he's not getting magical powers from the artifact, right?
Artifact, right? I don't think like. They indicate that there's something special about him. There's always been something special about him, and so I don't know if they're trying to play on something there. But again, they don't make that clear. And so
no, and
this doesn't make any sense.
And that's the thing is like the reason that the Spartans are supposed to be the way that they are is because of the enhancements that the UNSC does to them,
gives them.
Yeah, and so he's supposed to be like quote unquote different or whatever, but I don't know if I'm totally convinced that it's like this is exactly what it was because
what he was doing as a kid, right?
Later.
They had to edit out the scenes in this episode of him going like, "Oh, Sky, oh my parents," just crying the entire time. Just that arc of the character of just, hey, he was moaning as a kid all the way into adulthood too.
So he does pull this kid back up, and you can see you get the shots of Halsey like being like awestruck by this.
Yeah,
I guess it's enough. I don't know if everything about the show is kind of crude in the way that they like handle.
It's hard for me to know. Is it? I'm leaning on it's the writing and the actors are trying to do the best they can with what they've been given, right? But sometimes I'm like, is it the acting here too? Like, you know what I mean?
It's a bit of both.
I get the feeling that the actors are better than this, though. You know what I mean? So that makes me think that it's the showrunners and the writers.
It's the material.
But again, it's also like I'm going to fault Pablo for not playing the video games, not going into the lore, getting a sense of the characters. That's your fault, bro. That acting comes through in this.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the case for probably most of the cast.
Yeah.
And like we saw with Pedro Pascal, like this isn't really going to be changing much. This is pretty typical for Hollywood that they don't do that. And listen, in this episode, I think we get to see a little bit of how just like they really don't understand Chief. I guess everyone has now traveled to this home planet in between episodes.
Yep.
There may have been more of an indication in the last episode, and I don't remember.
Caring enough to remember. I want to say this too. I will give the show this credit. I like the interactions of the Spartans interacting with everyone else. Like if they honed in on that more, I think it could get better, right? I'm not sitting here saying that they have gold right there, but it's better than what they've been doing so far. If they could just cut out Quan and even Soren, get rid of all of that, because like, I don't understand why they even included his family in this, unless it's trying to like using that as a way to make you feel for Soren. Then at the end of the season, he gets killed off or something.
I don't know. It hasn't been developed well enough for me to. But it's a nothing story. That one in particular, and I think we saw that even more this week, where it's like every at the very least in this episode, every time they moved away from what was going on with Master Chief and like the main story with all the Marines, I just kept going like, can you not keep sending us back there?
They did a better job this episode in the editing and directing regarding like not cutting back and forth after a minute. And the last episode, I'm just saying better from the last episode. The last episode was absolutely horrible. I mean, it would stay in a scene for a minute or two and then cut, minute or two, cut. And the problem is that, these writers are taking on too much. They thought they could write this overarching complex narrative, and it's just nothing's working. Nothing's connecting the 5 to 7 different subplots they have going on along with the main plot. It just you know what I mean?
It's still one of the weakest parts is that there's too many characters in this, right?
And the problem I have is like, why didn't we get this episode and the first episode to where we really get to see the
yeah, I'm right there with you. We have so this is something
we got were elites.
Yeah, this was something that I was thinking about. We're 5 episodes in. Most of the plot line that we've had so far in the show could have been handled in the first episode. They could have sped up a lot of the weird like overpaced if you got rid of Quan and that entire plot line, you could have saved Soren for like either later in the season or next season, whatever the case may be, and tightened everything up, and you would have had like episode 1 and then episode 2, they would have been leading up potentially to this one, and then they could have moved on. But they've dragged everything out for so long, and it hasn't done a whole lot, especially with the way that they've been doing the show, where it's just been
standing around talking in a room, moaning and crying.
Yeah, basically explaining the plot to the people watching it while they're all standing around, just like this. And this scene right here, this is pretty much what Master Chief does the entire episode until the last 10, 15 minutes.
It's what he's essentially been doing.
He stands
in
around
the first episode too.
Yeah, he stands around with his helmet on, and then he goes somewhere else, stands around, takes his helmet off. And then when he's got his helmet on, they still want to show you Pablo's face, so they do these extreme zoom-ins of his face.
You know what you didn't get this episode, though? I won't do it. I won't do it that way. No one says anything to me. But you don't get any master cheeks.
Oh, that's true. There are no
butts in this episode.
No bare booties.
No crescent moons.
Man, I was hoping for 3 for 3, man.
I know. I thought they were going to really build on that because it is TVMA, so...
You'd hardly be able to tell with the way the show goes, and we'll get to that, especially with the action scene at the end of the episode. We'll
I'm glad they didn't, but I truly was expecting some Spartan butts in this episode.
Yeah. This is pretty light TVMA.
I like the I cannot remember his name, but the Black Spartan, not Soren, but
the other guy.
Yeah, I liked what he said to. It wasn't Kai. Yeah, it was Kai, when he. What was it that he said?
Because she kept asking do you think about these things? And he's like, no. It's like, shut up.
Stop asking me these BS questions.
Yeah,
that's what he said. I'm like, please, can we get more of him?
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Oh man, and I do like. I will say, I do like Soren's character in this, but again, I'm right there with you. He probably could have been, you take out Quan's whole plot and you introduce him maybe later in the season or something, or you just utilize him in a different way. You know what I mean?
Something completely different. He's been a babysitter for most of the season. We thought it was going to be Master Chief.
He's a babysitter.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be Master Chief. It turned out that they just got this guy to take care of it, so Chief can actually be a part of the main plot.
And if CBS was smart, they would just kill this plot line off at the end of the season.
If
they were smart, but
I don't think they will, though. I don't know why.
Much of them.
I don't know why Quan has to be in this, and she does her whole thing again. She throws a major tantrum. It must be later in the episode, but
ooh, hey, you know what a great idea is for one episode? Let's keep her stuck to a motorcycle. For the entire episode, and then she screams, and then eventually she breaks and she gets Soren.
So let's talk about this central plot, the central plot point for the episode. They're about to try to get the artifact out of this rock that it's stuck in, and so they everybody's kind of like, again, standing around. This is that scene that you were talking about. It was so good where Kai who definitely lost a bit of her momentum in this episode. I would say I'm not real thrilled with the way they handled this.
Out like a whoopee cushion.
Yeah, like she'd never been in a combat situation before, and just because she had this little thing removed, all of a sudden it's like, oh, none of that matters anymore. We'll get to it.
Her emotions take over, and she's just like,
oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening.
Because it's like, again, it's and we have been talking about this past few episodes. Equilibrium did it perfect. Just because you're coming to an emotional awareness doesn't mean you're leaving logic and reason behind and your experience behind, right?
Exactly.
It's counterbalancing both of them. There's a little bit of this is new, but it's not like elite of the elite trained Spartan would do that. Like, just
and so
these people have no concept of who they're writing about.
And again, almost no one has really made mention of her red hair, right? It does get brought up in the episode, which I guess was good. I thought they were kind of just going to forget about it.
I thought so too.
But we're talking about, and this is something that's been bothering me for the whole season. This is supposed to be like essentially if the Marines had a government, right? This is what they're supposed to be. Her hair wouldn't fly.
Nope.
At all.
Not. Because that's why they have uniforms. They want people...
Even their Spartan uniforms. Yeah, even their Spartan uniforms, they have a certain uniform to them. They're just different colors and they have different numbers, right? It's so ridiculous.
I wonder if the special, so I know like special forces, like Navy SEALs, for example, in our military, I know they can, grow beards and do things that other, the Marines and regular Navy cadets and, infantry and yada can't do. But I wonder if they can... I'm probably doubtful, but I wonder if they can dye their hair and stuff.
Yeah, I'd say no.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they kind of go through this whole thing, and they're like planning, and Master Chief literally is standing around. I'm telling you, man, he stands around. Hang on, I think there's another shot of it somewhere in here. Oh yeah, here he is. Here he is standing around again. He's just like looking at something, and then he sees. He's like. Just staring at this little drone that they send up, and he starts staring at Kai, and I guess he sees her hair, and then he's gonna go talk to her about it, and then he essentially tells her that he can't.
She can't go to the battlefield because she dyed her hair and she took out her pill in her back.
Yeah,
and she's compromised now.
Exactly, very rules for thee, not for me.
Yeah, hey.
And she even says it.
Life.
She calls him out on it, and then oh my gosh, dude, Cortana was driving me crazy in this episode.
Dude, I died laughing at this next bit of dialogue.
And she
That's why I wanted to rewatch it. I wanted to go rewatch a couple of scenes before we started, but it's okay because I wanted to get word for word write down what she said. But it was like a healthy pushback. Is good, and I'm proud of Kai for standing up in it. So it's like an empowerment moment. Like, guys, you know what? You could have not included that, and it would have been fine.
Yes, and this is the same criticism again, where it's like this is a government run by Marines. Cortana would know that. I don't.
David, healthy. Arguing or whatever it was that she said, it's a good thing.
Yeah, so
I'm proud of Kai for standing up against.
She's got herself. This big smile on her face, and Master Chief just ruins her day.
Act like people don't stand up for themselves.
Yeah,
like that's uniquely just a male thing.
Yeah,
like that's what that indicated. Like, but what?
Well, not only that, but it's definitely a dig at Chief because he's like Cortana, shut up. I can't even hear myself think, and then she goes, "Not much up here anyway."
Yep,
and
that's
you're like,
the other thing. It's like stop.
I know.
I was putting down your main character.
Yeah, I was just like, "Shut up, Cortana." And she does a couple other. I can't remember exactly what she says later on in the episode. Oh, I remember what it was. It's when he first starts fighting, and she's just like in his head, and she's like, "Do this, do that, do this." It's like, shut up.
Yep.
He's literally Master Chief. He was doing plenty good before you came along. Like you don't.
And again, if they knew about the lore and they had read the or played the games and read the comics and just different things or whatever is else out there. I didn't even know there was. You know more about that, but games, they would know.
I understand them wanting to try to build like a relationship between the two. There's this like subplot with her. She's barely in it again.
There's a subplot with everyone. There's a subplot with that Covenant alien right there. I'm telling you. Everything has a subplot. The Admiral has a subplot. The Indian Admiral, dude, she has a subplot.
She's just literally light speeding around the galaxy for convenience of the plot. Like, I get it. It's not quite the same as something like Game of Thrones, where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that people are getting to where they are as fast as they are. Like, at least they have like technology and their spaceships probably can move that quickly. Yeah. But she's like in a place and she goes, gotta go here. And you're like, all right. And then nothing really happens there. And then she's like, well, we gotta go here now. And then it's the same thing at the end of the episode where she says one thing and now she's like with the UNSC and you're like, why? What's the point? Like, what's going on?
I can see the planet where their artifact is.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That was a really good, dude. Your acting's even better than most of the people on the show.
Oh man, dude, I was dying in that scene. Oh man, I'm like, oh, so all you have to do for that scene is act like you gotta take a dump.
So here's the next scene with Kwan Ha where she throws this like massive temper tantrum, where she's like beating right here. She's literally just starts screaming. Right, and she starts hitting the bike with rocks, and eventually it like, where is it? It like pops off. It might not even be in the scene.
Dude, Master. Oh yeah, she pops it off after like 800 tries.
Like it was like a piece of like clay and not a piece of metal. The way that it like pops off, you're like, what? Like, oh my gosh.
I mean, it's a pretty janky bike, but the next scene you're getting to, I thought it was hilarious. So Master Chief, right? Super smart dude, right? Supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? He's a Spartan. So he finds out, he's thinking Halsey's lying to me. So his next move was, I should probably go tell her husband.
Yeah. But the thing is that like, okay, so standalone, right? The two of these guys like talking to each other. This was fine. This is what I was saying. Like I
good chemistry with each other.
Yeah. Captain Keyes, I like in this a little bit. You actually get to see him act, really, is what it is.
Yeah.
More than anything, it doesn't really mean a whole lot for the episode. But again, later on, it was kind of nice to see him doing something else. Even though I think that action scene is not that great. But you're right. It's like I'll go tell this guy what's going on.
And doesn't he directly report to Halsey too? In some form or fashion.
You know what? I'm not going to answer that question because I don't need a million people telling me yes.
They at least communicate a lot. We can say it that way.
Yeah, because they're literally doing it in the next scene.
Which, I mean, you got to think Master Chief would know this.
Yeah.
Knows that they're married and everything.
If he was written to be as smart and observant as he's supposed to be, right? They keep saying like, oh, he's special, right? And then he's still just like dumb.
But they don't show you he's dumb.
He stands around and he watches stuff, like just everything going on, and I think it's supposed to give you this idea that he's like watchful or whatever. But then you have stuff like that, where
and that's
he just
the
completely messes
of
up.
all the male characters in this show.
Yeah,
and I say all, most of them, to give myself some wiggle room. Most of them seem that way.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So, I don't even. This is the thing. I don't understand why Madrigal was even included in the last episode, and Vischer, whatever dude's name was, the evil guy that took over and everything.
I assume
there's no continuity through the episodes.
Yeah, he's not even in this one. Like the Covenant wasn't in the last episode. He's not in this one. It's like, y'all pick one bad guy for the season. One.
You know
bad
what it
guy.
is? You know what it is? Is that again, Game of Thrones ruined so many shows because now all these shows are trying to have, all these complex subplots going on at one time, and it's like, guys.
And they're gonna try to. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to interconnect this by the end of the season, and it just fails miserably.
Yeah, it's simple is good. Simple is good.
All right, so I want to talk about this point because this was a point in the season where if they had spent a little extra brain power thinking about what to do here, they could have, for one, gotten rid of a bunch of characters at this point, which they kind of do at the end of the episode, but this would have been really cool. So they drill into the rock, right? This is the little drill thing or whatever, and they're trying to do it, and then it makes this like really
high-pitched
noise. Let's see, where is it?
I was expecting his like eardrums to be busted and him bleeding out of his ears.
What I was really hoping is that they were gonna like kill just about everyone in that room, because here's the thing, and this is something that this show does not do well, and I talked about it in our review of the last episode. They don't show the stakes of everything going on and how dangerous what they're doing is and how dangerous it is, and that they don't really understand what they're messing with. And so if they had like drilled into this thing and it had made that crazy high-pitched noise and like people's heads started exploding, right? And then the thing comes down, so like, because Chief like panics and he runs in there, right?
Yeah.
And
but you got to do a little parody of it. You have to have one person's head like blowing up like in Blade, to where it just pops, and then the other person's head blowing up, and then
it's like one pops and then the blood like splatters on someone else, and then even if you, and this is what I'm saying, is it's like this show is so light on the violence that you're right, they don't even do a thing where like people's ears are bleeding. It's like, you're telling me these people's eardrums are getting like ruptured and there's no physical effect from it?
At least from the guy directly right there.
Yeah. I thought he was going to die, and it would have been great because you could have just killed off the creepy
scientist dude.
The creepy scientist dude, and it really wouldn't have mattered. And then we'll get back to him probably. So yeah, everyone's like panicking. They don't know what's going on. She starts showing her O face. She's like, it's like, oh my gosh. It's too much, y'all. So it looks like everybody like passes out or whatever, and Chief runs in.
I'm sorry. Eventually, when we grow, we're gonna do skits. I'm totally doing skits to where I'm just parroting like bad shows.
So they're like all on the ground or whatever, and of course he runs in, right? Takes his helmet off immediately. Dude,
the first thing I gotta do in this situation is take my helmet off.
It's becoming like a joke with so many shows and movies now where a mask is important to the character or a helmet is important to the character. Half the time they just don't have it on anymore, and the mask or helmet is one of the iconic things for Chief and Boba Fett and Spider-Man and name your character, right?
Yeah,
you go on and on.
I think you can get away with it more with Spider-Man than obviously you can with Boba Fett and with Master Chief, right?
You can,
but I still agree with you.
Yeah, the way that they've been doing it recently, it's getting to the point where it's like, you signed on to be a character who wears a mask a majority of the time when he's fighting crime. Like,
the only way this scene could have been better is if he took off his helmet and then took off his suit, and you got the butt shot in this scene.
Yeah,
like I have to go up to it naked.
He runs in and takes all of his clothes off. Yeah. You're like, Chief.
That would have cracked me up. I feel like they should just, like, from this point forward, in season 2, they should just parody everything.
Here's creepy scientist man. No harm, pretty much done to him. He's a little.
His hair's still perfect.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. When you go back to the scene when it ruptures or whatnot, it does a blast.
Oh yeah.
Can't tell from any.
Yeah, you can't tell. You really nothing. It has like no issue for anyone. People just kind of like their hearing gets a little messed up. So they're all trying to figure out like what's going on, why it's happening. And this was the scene that I started thinking. I honestly don't even remember what they were saying in this, because I was thinking to myself, in a better show, again, a plot point of humans messing with stuff that they don't understand that ultimately leads to their downfall and the struggle for survival. Very, very interesting if done well, right? But of course, here we are again. It's not really that big of a deal. So it's not too long after this, right, that the Covenant actually shows up. Like, they're all standing around again. Literally, this is what Chief does.
Master Chief tried to attack Halsey.
That's right. Well, because he's trying to like figure out what's going on. I think this is it. And so he
has diarrhea when he touches the artifact.
Yeah, so he's like staring around, and I guess he, for whatever reason, gets the idea in his head that he needs to go touch this thing, right?
Yep.
And so he does. His face,
and he's like,
it's like the seizure episode.
That's That's exactly spot on.
So the whole thing, or the new artifact shows him basically what we've talked about in the past, where it's like Halsey abducted him, and again, instead of showing us that Halsey used clones to replace them, right, and giving us kind of like a real answer to what was going on there, he kind of just says it and they move on, like, oh, I was replaced.
And obviously you get the picture. We understand at this point that she kidnapped him.
Yep.
And they have to tell the audience because they think the audience knows, you kidnapped me. Roar.
And I don't know how you felt about this, but this whole like him getting angry and attacking her, I would have played out this whole thing differently. For one, he probably would have had his helmet on. He would have snuck in there now that everybody wasn't in there, touched the artifact, realized what was going on, and not made a big deal out of it. Right? Because he's trying to figure out information. But again, in a show, right, where you have this government run by Marines who have a very specific way of doing things, and you don't break that.
Yep.
You would hope for smarter characters.
And I will have to say, I'll give them this credit that they have that I haven't seen so far from Marvel. The thing that's different from here is that there's no fart scene in this. There's nothing to cut the tension and make it funny, you know.
But that's like that. Here's the thing.
So that's minuscule.
Because
but you're
it's
absolutely
something
right. In the hands of better writers, that's what you said is exactly what I was thinking. Why would Master Chief act this way? Isn't he trying to get information? Wouldn't he have? It's like they think like everybody emotionally reacts this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he just seems at that point he's just an unhinged, protagonist that's not in control of his emotions.
Yeah, to your first point, in a show that does, you have to actually be able to like follow through on your dramatic sequences, right? So the problem with Marvel is that what they do is that they do a dramatic moment and then they upset it by getting a joke in there because they don't think the audience will be able to handle that kind of drama. Like they're afraid that they're going to hurt the feelings of the people. Problem here is that the drama is so flat that there's no emotion there anyway. So it's like, they may not be doing a joke at the end of it, but to be honest, at this point, it's like that would at least be more entertaining than what they're doing. Like,
it would be
like them having these moments where people are having seizures, and then someone comes in and is like, "Oh, hey, Master Chief, what's he wiggling around for?"
When he touched the artifact, I was like, "Please do a wet fart. Please do a wet."
Just something. It's dumb. Like, and that's kind of what it gets to. Is it's just like the drama falls flat all the time because I don't care about the characters aren't likable enough to feel for like Master Chief and what he's going through.
And I don't really remember. Does Cortana have this much control over Master Chief in the video games?
I don't know. In the video games, I think it's a little bit different because they are already in a relationship, right?
Okay.
And so right now, Cortana, and who knows where they're going to head with this, but like where Cortana is right now, from what they've shown, is that she is there to keep Master Chief under control. That's what she knows as her mission, because they're worried about him like going crazy or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so it's, I don't know, man. I don't know. Beyond that, like in the games, it would have been, I think, a little bit weird if they had her like shut him down at some point.
Yeah, right.
It's supposed to be kind of like an action game, like a first-person shooter action game. You're blowing up aliens. Anyway, so here we go with, okay, again, this is such a pointless part of the show. It's like you were saying before, because we literally come back to Soren. He's looking around. He can't find her. He spends some time looking around. He sees the bike, right? She comes out of the ground. She's like hiding, right? And then comes out of the ground, and then she buzzes him with her little like cattle prod taser thing and knocks him out.
This scene annoyed me so bad. It didn't it made me dislike her even more, to where I'm just like, please kill this character.
They could have, and you're right, they could have left all of this out. It wouldn't have made any difference for the show at all.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. He rescued her from the assassin. Without him, she would be dead.
Right.
And then she points a gun at him in the scene.
Oh, right. Like she's gonna shoot him. And that's the last time we see him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would she do that?
It's not like he kidnapped her.
Oh, here
it
is.
Kidnap her.
So yeah, she like picks up his gun, and now she's like, "You're right, dude. What? What's the point of this?
It's not like he kidnapped her, right? If he had kidnapped her and then he saved her life and then she did this and she's kind of like struggling with like, should I kill him or should I not? That makes more sense, right? Because on one hand, you're
if
like,
he had been treating her like crap, yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, he saved my life. Has he been treating me like crap? You know, what's the progression here? This is just crappy writing.
Oh, this is I was like caring so little about what was going on with them. I didn't even think about it.
Mean man handcuffed me to the motorbike. He deserves to be shot in the head.
Like, I knocked him out. Now I'm going to shoot him in the head. So yeah, then it goes blank or whatever. So then we have Chief wake up. He's like, what happened? And then before they
still have to moan?
Yeah. Before they have time to do anything, the Covenant arrive. That's what he was looking at right there. Funny.
He's not dirty or anything after falling on the ground.
No.
And his head hit. Hair's all fine.
So now the Covenant are here, and we actually have something to distract us from how terrible the show is. But I'll tell you, man, you can tell they don't have anyone doing choreography for this, like knowing what they're doing, because you can generally, I think, you can tell the difference between when action is good and when it's not. When for instance, you can see sort of the back and forth between the two sides, and a lot of time in this, it's just Marines shooting at something, and they're like not there, right? Yep. It's all the the Banshees are coming down, right, and they're like shooting stuff and they're blowing everything up. And I'll give them a little bit of credit just for the fact that it's like it's nice to finally see the Covenant actually acting like the Covenant, where like they are just like balls to the wall with this stuff. Like they are merciless in trying to essentially like wipe out the humans, because they're kind of religious zealots. Like that's sort of what's going on there. They feel that they have this like right to take over the galaxy, and so you have all these different alien races that are coming together, and so you get at least a little bit of they're actually dangerous. Like they're and the only problem I have with this is that it makes the humans look absolutely stupid.
Yes,
where it's like I wish that they had. I mean, even if the humans were still getting wiped out, like again, we're talking about Marines. We're talking about very organized, very well put together people who should be pretty good under pressure. You know, and I understand it's like if you go back and you play the games, the Marines are kind of like they're kind of cannon fodder.
Yes,
it's true. And even if they had kind of dug into that a little bit, but they're just background fodder in this. Like you don't even get like anything going on with them besides just like oh no, and you know how you have like Chief and the Spartans run around, which I actually kind of that scene where Chief's in the Warthog and the Spartans like run up really fast next to him and like hop in. Again, it was like it was one of those moments where I go, ooh, a little tingle of something, like oh, and then it's
only they would focus on the Spartans.
Yes, exactly. It was like oh, something that I want to see. But yeah, again, they don't.
No wonder why this was in production hell for so long. I'm seeing why every time every episode comes. I'm like, yep, that makes sense.
So they like he gets his gun or whatever, and you know, he's getting ready to do his thing. I was trying to see if I could find the one scene. This is something I wanted to talk about, but I don't know if it's gonna. I think it's that Marine. Oh yeah, so here we go. So the Covenant are dropping down. You get the Jackals and the Grunts, and I went, ooh, Grunts. I was like, we're 5 episodes in, and we finally get to see some Grunts. And they're still, again, okay, so I think one of the ways to explain this is that a lot of this fight feels really disconnected. Like I don't feel like I was invested in what was really going on. And you don't get any personality for the rest of the Covenant that are dropping down, right? It's just sort of like they're throwing stuff at the screen to get you excited, which doesn't really do it for me. But and then you have, let's see, where was it? Does that guy get shot yet? So one of the Marines gets shot by the Needler.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's already passed. Anyway, so
and they don't really show it well.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, so he gets like hit a bunch of times, and he like poofs into like a red dust.
Yep.
And that wasn't really the way that they explained it in the previous episode. It was supposed. I think they should have gone like. I mean, again, I think I've probably just got a problem, and I would just want to see the violence ramped up a little bit more. But it feels cheap, because it was just like he gets hit with a needler a bunch of times and then they explode and he's like, poof.
I can understand them trying to keep it like toned down to the extent of, okay, how do we keep this between like PG-13 and like but underrated R, so that, you know, teenagers and maybe, you know, 12-year-old, 13-year-olds can actually watch it and parents be okay with it.
Bro, they're gonna watch it anyway.
But
they're gonna watch it anyway. Streaming services got rid of like ratings mattering a long time ago. It doesn't matter. But this is the thing. It's like it's Halo. This is an M-rated game. It's a first-person shooter. They're supposed to be like action and violence. And they're just not really following through with it. So that guy gets blown up, and the grunt like takes the. Okay, here's one of those shots too, where it's just like they keep zooming super close inside his helmet because they have to remind you that Pablo's in there.
Yeah, and you know, they could have easily done this instead of all the scenes without his helmet on. It's like, what's the point of taking his helmet off if you're just going to do...
I hate all of it,
like,
though.
Why do you... Like, why... Or just, if you're going to show the helmet, I'm just saying, if you're going to have him take his helmet off, why not just get rid of the in-camera helmet? Like, we don't need to see that. Like, can he not act?
We don't need
Can he not act beyond the helmet? You know what I mean? Or can he not act with the helmet on?
I think it's narcissism. That's what it comes down to.
You think it's on Pablo? I don't know if it's on Pablo or if it's on...
I think so. But if it's anything like what was going on with the Mandalorian and Boba Fett, with the Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal wanted more FaceTime. And so now they've like completely rewritten his character. So it's like his whole like religion of keeping his helmet on doesn't even matter anymore. He like just kind of gives up on it for whatever reason. And then with Boba Fett, he's taking his helmet off every like 2 minutes in that show because they want to show the actor's face all the time. Yeah. And it's just irritating. That's one of the other things I hated about this scene is that there's all these really weird decisions about just the shots in this where it's all these weird like close-ups. They do ones where it's like the view from like a camera, and then they do the dumb first-person view again, which is so like that was something that they tried in Doom like 20 years ago. Yep. And it didn't work then. It was lame then. It's still lame now.
Completely agree.
Anyway, so this scene goes on. It really does kind of like wear after a little while, like I don't know. And then you have Kai, right? Kai
getting shot.
Yeah, and she's like losing
her
mind.
Staring around.
Warning. Going through this like whole deal where, you know, unlike Master Chief, who is still just as good as ever, right? Like he's not affected at all. Now, again, I get it. He's supposed to be like the chosen one or whatever. But, you know, it's this big of a difference between the two. Like a couple explosions go off near her and some people are dying, and all of a sudden she's like freaking out like she's never seen a fight before and, you know, has never seen people die before. It didn't add up. And I get what they're doing with it, and it's going to have like consequences in the next episode. Who knows? She's going to leave by the end of the season or end up dead. That's the thing is, like, at this point, I don't know what they're trying to do with any of the characters.
Completely agree. I have no idea myself.
Oh, okay. So we got to talk about this. Oh, wow.
What do you think?
When you like do screenshotty type stuff with this, where you're like slowing down the footage, this looks terrible. It looks like an action figure sitting on top of that.
Screenshot that for me so that I can use that as my background.
Anyway, so okay, a little bit of this is a bit of a pet peeve in every Halo game, right? You're Master Chief, you playing Master Chief, he is able to jump into these Banshees, no problem, right? Now, you could argue that he's not experienced with the Banshee yet. Whether that's true or not, I'm doubtful of it, because it seems like at the beginning of the show, they've still been fighting the Covenant for a while. He should have easily been able to jump in this thing and start tearing everything up, right?
Yep.
Taking other Banshees out, taking other ships out, taking enemies out, because that's what happens in the games. Would have been a great little fan service moment, right? Of course, that's not what happens. He acts like he's a dummy and hangs on to this thing for forever, and then eventually crashes it into another ship. I think that's what's going on right here. Oh, yeah. So he crashes it into this other ship and magically survives, right? It's just kind of like, all right. I guess it's hard to tell because they haven't really established how good their armor is, right?
Yeah.
So
they haven't really established that at all.
A certain number of shots, right, will kill a person, will essentially get rid of your armor, right? And then I guess like Kai in this episode was close to dying. That's kind of, I mean, that would be my guess.
Your guess is mine.
So that's enough.
So.
That's enough to take her out. But him ramming two ships together in a giant explosion isn't going to kill him. I mean,
nope.
he's not Superman.
He did jump off David.
Yeah, but he stood up in the middle of this wreckage. There's flames and debris everywhere.
But he jumped off before it, David.
Look, dude, he's covered in soot. He was in the middle of it.
Hey, he's covered in soot. I give them credit. They haven't done that.
Oh yeah, he's dirty. He's actually dirty for once. That's great.
Oh man. Someone thought of it. Hey, he needs to be dirty in this thing.
Yeah. So they give Master Chief his little moment with the shotgun. He's shooting people a bunch and
killing some grunts.
Here's another one of these in the helmet shots for.
Yeah.
I don't know why they have to keep doing this. And then he kind of goes ham on this one elite.
Saves Kai.
And then the enemy gets away with. Oh, I guess we should mention. So they're here because of this other device, because the lady had her spaz and knew exactly where to go.
Yep.
For somehow, like magically,
she's the blessed one.
Yeah, magically she knew the exact coordinates, right? So that's why they're here, and they do end up getting it, and they do this weird reveal, right? I think it's no, here it is. This is a brute, I'm pretty sure, even though it looks different. They're a little more like monkey-like in the games. And this design, I'm assuming that's what this is, but it looked so weird that I wasn't. At first, I was like, "Oh, a brute," and then I went, "Is it?" And I'm like, "It must be." And then this is something I actually don't know. I don't know if these guys actually show up in any of the novels or anything before, as far as like the original lore, not the Silver Timeline. And that was something I had to remind myself of. I was like, this is dumb. It's like, you don't even see these guys until I think the second game. And then it was like, oh wait, this is Silver Timeline. They're just going to argue that it's Silver Timeline and it doesn't matter. Here they are. So here it is. This was their reveal for the episode. I'm assuming they thought people were going to like freak out and be like, oh my gosh, a brute. Wow. It was more just kind of like, all right, there it is. So he comes and he picks up the thing after Master Chief.
Katarna has to remind you when he says, I need a weapon. I don't think that's going to matter.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing is like, through that whole fight, or I think it's early on in that fight, or is it when Master Chief picks up the shotgun for the first time and she just keeps chatting in his ear?
That was before.
Okay, so she just starts chatting in his ear, trying to give him directions on how to fight. And it's like, shut up.
I know.
Stop. Like dude, she's so irritating in this show.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
But then old Brute flies up with gets teleported back with the second MacGuffin in the show.
And our sympathetic female villain has a new plan, right? And crash lands down on the thing. There's dust everywhere. He picks up a gun. She said,
like, make sure it looks real. So I was thinking, like, is this a clone of her or something that she can control?
I assume that line meant make sure they think that I'm not one of you, right? Because she's trying to go, like, undercover. But here's the thing, right? She crash lands. Dust flies everywhere. He's pointing this weapon at her. It's the plasma pistol. Let's see. Where's the shot of her? Oh, here it is, right? She is in pristine condition.
No soot, no dirt, nothing.
Little dust. It looks like maybe she has a scratch right here, maybe on her arm. Terrible shot if that's the case. But you would think that it's like make it. Whenever in a show, a movie, whatever, where someone wants to trick someone else to think that they're not on the side of the enemy, they usually like beat the crap out of them, right? Bloody face, black eye, bruises, whatever. She looks basically pristine in this shot.
You know what she's going to tell him? Halsey groomed me too.
Dude, if that's the reveal at the end, like, I was one of you at one point, but I escaped. or something. No, see, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't
really
make sense because remember she got kidnapped by them. Yeah.
Who knows?
Man.
I hate
and
this
that's
so
the end of the
much.
episode.
I hate this
Him
so much.
staring at
he's
the
back
sky.
to his helmet's off, staring out into I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. So I think you're right. Again, this is not a like passing grade,
Yeah.
but it's probably the best episode of the season. It's
Yep.
shorter. There's less dumb stuff in it for the most
Yep.
part. You know, it's not like in the last episode where the British villain is like putting a cigar out in the pool and then leaving it there and
showing some cheeks.
yeah, and other than the some of the weird like nonsensical decision making by Quan Ha, and then somehow Master Chief entering God mode and not dying in a massive explosion that he was in the middle. That he's literally in the middle of. Yeah, I mean it's watchable. But you also have to get. You also have
so
to
what's
get,
your? Let me ask you this. I'm not asking you to rate this episode.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you to rate on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you consider watchable? Do you consider 3, 4, 5?
Probably like
6?
a 4.
That's what I was gonna go with. I was gonna go with a 4.
So, I am in the camp of thinking that review scores, if you're going to give them, they need to get off of this like American grading system where it's like when we were in school, 60 or below was failing, right?
Yep.
Because everyone sees like somebody gives something a 6 and they immediately go like, this must be the worst thing ever. Like it's a failing grade. Now,
Maybe we
don't
should
get me
start
wrong.
it, and we could like do our own metric. Hey, this is what we
No.
mean when we give this and this and this.
Pass,
Yeah, there you
pass. No, thank you. This show it is not watchable. This
Nope.
episode was. So again, you have to take it as a whole. It took 4 episodes to get to something that is still barely
watchable.
Yeah, like
Barely
why
watchable.
would you watch this
And
just
the only
on its
reason
own?
why is because it's like you got to get through the first 4 episodes to be like, thank God this is only 35 minutes.
It's insane, dude. We've had what 2.5 action scenes in 5 episodes.
So you're encouraged that it's like whenever you're encouraged that an episode is shorter, that's not a good thing.
No, not at all. When you're like, oh, I don't have to spend as much time on this week.
Yes. Oh man.
Well, man,
that's about all I have to say.
I don't have anything else to add either. Do you want to, if anybody's made it this far, you want to give them our little spiel before we sign out?
Yeah. So if you made it this far, you can go in the description, click let's see, is it in the description? Let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to just double check. I think it is this description.
It'll be
description.
In there. Our links, all of our links I put in every episode.
Every episode? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, just go to the description. You can click on our direct.me link. From there, you can support us by setting up monthly $1 donations through PayPal. We like to use them to get around the YouTube system because YouTube takes like 30% or so, which is really high. So if you go through PayPal, I think their rate is like 2.7%.
Much lower.
And, yeah, much lower than YouTube. And so, just a $1 monthly donation through PayPal, or you can go through you can donate us some Bitcoin through our Bitcoin wallet address. And you can also support us on our social media. We're on Odyssey, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter too. So the best things that you can do is obviously those PayPal donations help because eventually we do want to make this our full-time job. And the first step is getting the part-time, right? But then, we're already doing it part-time, so we're already there.
You're paying
getting paid for part-time work. That's the key. And then secondly, just share our podcast, share our YouTube video on social media, by word of mouth, everywhere. And we really appreciate, the liking, subscribing, and engaging with us, commenting. That does mean a lot to us too.
And as of recording this, we're 9 away from 300 subscribers on YouTube.
I know, dude.
And we are over 4,000 watch hours in about 5 months, which is pretty incredible. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Any way that you guys are willing to support us, we appreciate it, especially if you've made it this far in the video. You definitely like what we're doing. So
yep.
Thank you guys, and we'll be back next week with episode 6 of Halo.
Only 4 more episodes.
Until then, y'all take it easy.